Joining us. I'm so excited to introduce you to my hero,
Oh
my
my
role
gosh.
model, the
Oh my
person
goodness.
I admire most, the one I look up to, the woman I want to be, the woman I think, kind of epitomizing over there, the woman that God would have you be. So I'm really excited. I'm actually pretty selfish with her a lot of the time. And I did introduce her to one other woman that I kind of love. Remember what I said? I feel like I'm introducing my wife to my secret mistress girlfriend over here, like I'm cheating on you. We've been, you've been my gal for 40 years.
That's right.
Years.
Count them.
I want to welcome everybody to this just a little bit of time, a little bit of a casual chit chat to introduce you to this really, really remarkable lady. She's got a brand new, she's achieved a life dream.
Yes.
She's got a brand new book out called Sacred Refuge, Finding Unexpected Shelter in Your Crisis. It's published by Kriegel and it's available on Amazon. And we're actually going to share a little bit later about how you can get a prize. And enter to win a little prize related to the book. So that'll be fun too. So, Lynn, say hi.
Hey, good to see you all today. Looking forward to, yes, our time together. Thanks.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I want to share about how we met
Hmm.
and then just kind of go from there, just kind of a casual conversation here.
Yep.
I became a Christian through a group of very brave Presbyterians. I mean, these people took me on. I mean, that was a pretty bold move on their part. I was the wildest girl in the high school, and a young man from Lynn's church had been in a skiing accident, and he died. And that's what we were told. He was my co-star. We were the stars of the school play. And they told all of us, Bruce has died. And I mean, it was mass hysteria.
Hmm.
And then about an hour later, they said, Bruce has been raised from the dead. He's come back to life. And we're like, what? He came back to life? They said, well, he's come back to life, but he's in a coma. So,
Hmm.
and a little while later, they said, well, he's out of the coma, but, it's not going to be good. And I think it was 2 weeks later that the principal came on the school announcement system and said, everyone, please report to the gymnasium because Bruce Bacon is not only alive and not in a coma, he is here and he wants to talk to you guys.
Man.
I cannot tell you. I was coked out. I mean, this was my season when I was really, really
Hmm.
on cocaine. Now I was a high functioning cocaine addict, but I was a cocaine addict getting ready to spiral. I was coming close to the spiral. So we all were like the whole high school reports to the gymnasium, and this guy gets up there and says, God brought me back from the dead to be
Man.
here to tell you that you need Jesus. And everybody was
Wow.
leaving out, and he made a beeline for me, and he said, and I mean you. He would get me, the people would be so stunned and shocked that it would have some kind of a ripple effect. So this boy was on a campaign to get
Hmm.
me saved, and he introduced me to, drum roll, your husband.
Hey, there we go. I knew he was coming in soon.
You're a fiance. And so they took me to a camp and I spent 7 days away from everything that I knew. Actually, I'll tell you the story. I get a call. His name was Bruce. I get a call, and he's like, you're coming with me on a free vacation. I'm paying your way and I'm picking you up tomorrow at 6 a.m. Bye.
You couldn't say
And
no.
I'm on a free vacation. You're picking me up? This is great. I love a free vacation. I packed my string bikini. I packed some drugs to sell. I was all ready for this free vacation. And we pulled into the Christian Retreat Center when and your poor, sweet seminarian husband to be was there waiting for me. And I showed up. God bless that man
Woo.
went through. Um, but they didn't give up on me, and God did an amazing work. Now those 7 days
Mm,
changed my life, and we made a deal that he would mentor me and teach
mm.
me everything that he knew if I would sit and listen to stories about how amazing you are.
I don't know what kind of deal that is.
It was a great. You were Lynn at the time was a missionary in Kenya. And so he would just sit and tell me that she was amazing and she was beautiful and she was the most godly woman and the most beautiful woman and the most and this. And I, I'm like, okay, whatever. Just tell me this whole Bible stuff that I need. I'm going off to college. You're sending me to the wolves. Get me ready, you know? And I'm sitting in this little like chalet shaped church on a Sunday night, this little Presbyterian church with like, and I'm sitting in the front getting ready to take notes. And I turn around and I see the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my
Oh my
whole life.
gosh.
And
Oh, Donna.
radiant with the glory of God,
Mm.
right from Kenya, walking up the aisle, and I'm like, I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it.
Oh,
And I've been in love with you for 40 years. So tell me
oh,
your version
friend.
of the story. I want your version. That's my
Well,
sticking to
I
it.
I actually didn't know the beginning of that you were a co-star with Bruce Bacon in the local musical thing. That's very cool. Good minutia, but very important, and it helps me understand a lot of different things. Anyway, Bruce Bacon's little known fact and I wrote a song together for our wedding based on Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12. It was called A Cord of Three Strands. I wrote the words, he wrote the music, and he performed it at our wedding. I think. I'm pretty sure he did. No, somebody else did. But anyway, he and I wrote it. How about that?
7 degrees from Bruce Bacon.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, 7 degrees. I yeah, this is way too much. Uh, yeah, I don't know. What do you say to that? That's an incredible, incredible intro. Here's what I want to say to you, my friend. I could go back and try to remember that time and what was going on, and it was an incredible time in terms of what Rob and I were experiencing, falling in love, knowing God was calling us to ministry. I'm going to Kenya, the whole thing. But as I look back over the 40 years you and I have been together in friendship, I want to publicly say how much I love and appreciate you, Donna, because you always call me out of hiding. I've been thinking about this the last few days. And that's a lot of what I wrote about in Sacred Refuge. I looked at my life and I said, if you're given a choice, you're going to hide. You're going to take the safe road. You're not going to push through or fight or whatever. And that's not always true of every part of my life, but in parts and in season it has been. And God has used you as this very uncomfortable I'm going to be honest, right?
Okay.
It's like it's the sand in the oyster that becomes a pearl. Like you've become a pearl to me. But it's not always fun to get called out of hiding. I got to tell a story from Blue Ridge. May I do that for these friends, these brand new friends? Is
We've
that
got
okay?
so many stories to tell. Go ahead and tell the Blue
Yeah.
Ridge
All right.
story.
So here's an example of what I'm talking about. How God has used Donna in so many different ways. She's really my writing mentor. She's teaching me about marketing because what I know about marketing can fit on the tip of your finger, whatever. She's teaching me. But 2 years ago, Donna and I went to the Blue Ridge Christian Writers Conference, and we're sitting the day before the conference kicks off. We're sitting in the Clouds Coffee Cafe, whatever it was. We're sitting in the corner having our little chai latte, a double espresso, whatever. And she said to me something along the lines of, Samaritan Woman, a book about her. You work for Samaritan's Purse. I think there's something in this idea that you need to really examine, something from the Lord. And then I just felt this wave of fear. This is the hiding thing, right? Don't go there. Don't open that up. Don't mess that up. And Donna said to me, do you remember this? You said, what just happened? You look like a scared little 4-year-old girl, right? I mean, you call it like you see it.
I
And
watched
I,
your demeanor transform, and we'll come back to this, that you were so perfect as you walked into that church because you had to be perfect and you
yeah,
have been perfect your entire life. We'll come back to where all that came from.
there you
And
go.
I watched you be the perfect woman, the most beautiful, the most put together, the one who went to Smith College, the
Mm,
one who's a development, at Samaritan's Purse, the one who just excels at everything and sings and knows how to dress and went to corporate America. And you've just done everything remarkably well, which is amazing.
mm,
And sitting there, I watched you go from this beautiful, competent, incredible, accomplished woman to, like, in an instant, your entire
mhm.
demeanor changed,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
literally were sitting there slumped over like
Mm,
a little girl.
mm,
It
mm,
was
mm.
unbelievable to
Yeah.
see what happened to you.
So, what I want to share with our friends is what was going on inside of me in that moment. All the lies of the enemy. Don't go there. Don't put yourself out there. I think a lot of us live this way, right? Don't risk it because you're going to open yourself to rejection. And what was going on was I literally was back at age 4, little girl, watching dad. My first memory, as you know, is watching my dad walk out the front door of our apartment and the enemy lying and saying, "You are nothing and you are no one. And the best you can hope for is to fake everybody out." That's how I lived for years. And that's where that outer image garbage came from. Okay. But then what happened next changed everything. Because at the same time that the enemy came in with lies, the Holy Spirit was present with us. You said something else. I know what it was. I think you must have heard from the Holy Spirit about this specific issue. You said something to me, said we talked a little more, and then you said, Lynn, whatever happens with this book and with your life, this is for God's glory. And it was something about how you said it and what you said that just broke something deep within me that had been hidden in a back closet for decades. And it was a horrible moment because what I had to admit, as the Holy Spirit was like, it's like Psalm 139. Search me and know me. Put the searchlight on my heart, Lord. Show me if there's any wicked way in me and lead me in the way everlasting. That's what was going on. And what the Holy Spirit put his searchlight on at that moment, we're talking 2 years ago. I carried this thing
Yeah.
quietly. It never wanted to make itself known, right? This uncleanness. And I'll just call it what I think it was, self-idolatry. And it was the last thing the enemy would have said to me when I was 4. So you got to become the most perfect, beautiful, accomplished, blah, 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 likable. Don't let anybody ever make you feel like this again. Least rejectable person in the world. And if a little glory splashes your way here and there, that'll be our little secret. And I lived with that, not knowing what it was, but I lived with that and put up with that garbage for decades. And it literally took your listening to, being sensitive to, and just speaking the truth in love in that interaction for it to get broken open. And then it was a horrible, wonderful moment, horrible of having to see it, know what it was, name it, and wonderful because Jesus was right there with me in it, right? I know you started praying for me. You knew something was going on that was big. And so you're interceding, Holy Spirit's there, and I'm convicted, but repenting right away as soon as I saw it. Lord, please forgive me. And here was the most amazing thing, Donna. God at that moment, could have been like, oh, look what the cat dragged in. Well, it took you long enough, right? It took you all these decades to figure out you've been stealing glory you've been stealing my glory all these years, blah, blah, blah. And I never heard that from him. Here's who God is. God was there saying, I have known about this all this time, and it has not changed my love for you. It's the most beautiful, amazing gift. It's the good news of the gospel, right? Him doing for us what we cannot do. So he washed it away. Jesus paid for that stuff on the cross. And he also gave me his righteousness so that when the Father sees me now, he looks at me through the lens of Jesus. And what does he see? He doesn't point out all the I'm going to use the word crap sitting in the back closet. Although he did at that time. It was time for me to see it and be done with it. And the Holy Spirit does convict, but it's not it doesn't affect how he sees me and treats me. What he sees is the righteousness of Christ on me, and that means I'm a delightful child to him. And that's true for all of us who have Christ.
I actually just talked about this on Saturday when I
Hmm.
did my little session. I talked about you and the experience that we had. And I think what I said to you was very much along the lines of God loves you if you put your, because you were terrified to put
Hmm.
yourself out there and fail. And I said, if you put yourself out there and fall on your face, God will love you exactly the same amount as if you put yourself out there and it's the greatest thing,
Yes.
the next Joanna Weaver. Yeah, it's the next
Yeah.
phenom. That God's love is not an issue here at all. His love
Yeah.
that should make us, because if I have a secret, okay, you and I have been on this journey for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I'm not afraid to fail. I'm not
Hmm.
afraid to look dumb. I'm not afraid to fall on my face because God has picked me up so many times. And so that's kind of what he does.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, you talked about your father left, so dads leave,
Yeah.
so you
Yep. Yep.
better, you better be perfect. You don't want to do
Mm-hmm.
anything to disappoint him, because if you disappoint your father, he might take off. And my dad, there were issues when we were growing up. He had anyway, but my dad is the most amazing man in the history of amazing men after he got over some things that he was struggling with.
Yeah.
That my dad was always the one who was just, he was that picking you back
Uh,
up. I remember, and I know she won't mind my sharing it. One of my sisters, I have three sisters, got pregnant as a teenager. And everybody's like, whoa, what's dad going to do? What's dad going to do? What's dad's? And she didn't want to tell him. She knew he was going to be disappointed. I think he probably already knew. And he told him. And we were all, I remember I was hiding behind the couch. He went to his room. And he came back out and he looked at her and he said, do you love this boy? And she said, no, daddy. And he said, okay, so we're not going to make two mistakes. Um,
mm.
we're going to raise, we're going to raise the baby here as a family.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And so I had that model of a dad who was very fierce with evil.
Hmm.
He went roller skating and he saw some guy beating up his girlfriend. He was out of that car and that guy was down. He was gone. They went to court. The police came, took my dad to court, and the judge said, good job. Go you. Thank goodness. So I had that
Wow.
picture of a father who, on the positive side, was really an advocate. He was one who opposed evil, but had mercy for the.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I had that picture,
Wow.
and I think that really was a difference maker for me. And I think that as we've walked this journey for 40 years,
Mm.
um, you've had a steadfastness that I didn't have. Maybe, and then I want to talk about the Day of Days. Maybe talk about the gifts God gave you and the person that you dedicated this book to, who
Uh,
became that figure for you.
mhm. Mhm. I'd love to. Just before I shift to that, let me say this. What I'm hearing from you and really what I'm seeing in my own story is that the power of God's love, once we not just know it here, but like it travels that crucial 18 inches south to our heart and we're living from it, is the thing that we talk about. Jesus set me free. We use these phrases, but there is real freedom and real courage. And we're talking cowardly lion courage, right? That comes forth from that.
I
And
think
it
the
changes
problem
everything.
I think the problem is that the church is too up in its head thinking about
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
We learn
you're right.
by doing. You learn by experience, not
Mm-hmm.
around thinking about stuff. It's like you put yourself out there, you fall on your face, and that's when you find out God picks you up.
Yes.
Instead of sitting there and saying, I wonder what God would do if I fell on my face. Go out there, give it a try, whatever it is you feel like you want to
Yes.
do. Be brave, be bold, go out there, give it a try,
Mm-hmm.
and you will learn by experience
Yes.
more by going out there into that big scary world than you ever will hiding in your house or
Mm-hmm.
hiding wherever it is
Mm-hmm.
that you're hiding on, your whatever, your Netflix or wherever it is that you're hiding, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is you're doing that's not that thing that God told you to do, to go out and put yourself out there, whether it's writing a book, launching a course, having a minister, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna experience who God is much more.
Yeah.
walking it out and going out into that big scary world, and he'll show you who he is rather
Mhm.
than you sitting in your house thinking, I wonder what he's like, right?
Yes, so true. I mean, what would have happened if in Exodus 3 and 4, God's in the burning bush, Moses comes over, he's hiding in Midian, right? He killed the Egyptian. He's been hiding out as a shepherd for 40 years, figured, well, that's over. At least I don't have to worry about all that. And then the burning bush, and God says, you're not done. I have an assignment for you. And by the way, it's to go back and take your people out of bondage. And you can just see and feel Moses's utter terror. Like he says, but God 5 times in that passage. You got the wrong person. And then you just sit there and you go, what if God had not worked with him, persisted, lovingly insisted that he do this thing, that he was the right person for the job? What if Moses had put his foot down and said, I'm out. I am not doing this. God would have found another way, another person, but Moses would have missed out on the most incredible adventure of experiencing God as the one who parts the waters, as the one who, right? All the things.
It's in going that we're healed.
Mm,
It's in doing that we learn and grow. It's in putting
mm.
ourselves out there. And so that brings us to the day
Good.
of days.
Day of days. Okay.
Days.
October 3rd,
That day,
1981.
honestly, that day shook me more than it shook you. It really shook me to the core. So let's talk about the day of days.
Are we talking about July 27th last year?
We're talking about the day that you had two of the most traumatic
Oh,
things that can happen
okay.
to anyone.
Yeah, yeah. So a year ago, May, I'm at our denomination's conference. I get a phone call from my radiologist. I'd had 2 mammograms the last 3 weeks before, and I knew something could be up. And sure enough, I get the call, and I get the word that there's cancer in my body, breast cancer. And that's kind of a crazy moment, right? To hear the C word and your name in the same sentence, kind of surreal. But even in that moment, I felt the Lord with me, and I felt his presence, and I just sensed it was going to be okay. Either way, like not everybody gets healed. I believe I've been healed. Not everybody gets healed in the medical sense, and it's still okay if we have Jesus. But anyway, that started in May. Waited 6 weeks for surgery. Going into surgery, everything's delayed, but the Lord's just carrying me in peace. Rob's right by my side. Unbelievable rock, unbelievable support. He's an amazing person. And he's the one that I dedicated the book to. That's what you were talking about. Uh, and then I come out of surgery, clean margins, all the good news that you hope to hear. And
You
I'm
called
just,
me with that. You called me with the good news.
oh, good. Okay. I don't remember much of that. I was
You did.
drugged,
You called me.
Yeah, it was very good news. So we get in the car and we've got an hour-long drive home from the hospital. Rob's driving. I'm in the back seat. I'm thinking I might lay down. I'm tired. And thankfully had my seatbelt on, but it's right over the surgical site. All of a sudden, a car comes out of nowhere, runs a stop sign, and plows into our car just in front of where I'm seated. In fact, if I'd been sitting in the front seat, I don't even know what that would have been like. But anyway, didn't happen. And I remember thinking in the moment, how everything goes slow-mo in a moment like that. Oh, the seatbelt. The airbags have deployed because there was white powder everywhere. Oh, Rob's fighting to keep the car from flipping, whatever it is, all the thoughts. But I did not have this sense of, oh my God, I'm going to die. I didn't have any of that. I just had this very deep, deep sense of peace. And I can't explain that except to say the presence of God was protecting us and very, very much with us. I have kind of a weird thing. I don't know if I have told you about it, but I'll share it again. Thinking about Psalm 91, sheltering, being in the shelter of the Most High, abiding in, right? You think about under the pinions, Psalm 91:4, he'll shelter you under his wings, right? Over the last year or two, God has been putting feathers in my path. It's kind of random. I mean, I'm a
Oh, my
Presbyterian.
index card to talk about the feathers.
The feathers,
I
yes.
was totally going there with the
All
feathers.
right, good.
I'm
I'm
going to come
going there
back to
now.
this day of days. I'm
Yeah,
going to come
yeah.
back to that because I don't know if you
Okay.
remember, you called me as you were waiting for the ambulance,
Mm.
and it shook me to the core. I'm like, how could God? This is the woman I love more than anyone in the world.
Aw.
This is the woman I admire most. This is the woman I have watched walk through so much and be unshaken and steadfast. And it shook me to the core, like, God, how could you let this happen to her? How could she be driving home from cancer surgery and get in a devastating accident and is standing at the side of the road waiting? It really, really
Mm,
shook me. And I've never shared this with you before.
mm,
And so this might, I don't know.
mm,
Is it possible that God, who is apart from time, knew that the day of days was coming, and
mm,
that's why he met you at Blue Ridge and called you on
mm,
this journey, so that you thought that you were putting together all of this wisdom and insight for the benefit of other women, which you
mm.
were. But God was working in you because he knew the day of days was
Huh,
coming, and
huh.
he was preparing as you
Wow.
as you were pouring out, he was pouring into you. I always say God gives seed to the sower. The minute
Mm.
you said, God, I'm willing, I'm terrified, I'm so scared, I'm literally shrinking into a little child here, like terrified,
I'm
but God, if
melting.
you're
Right.
asking me to, I
Mm,
will come out of hiding and I will try because you want me to, fulfill this mission and make a difference.
mm.
And so in my mind, two things
Wow.
are happening. One, God was preparing you for you
Hmm.
so that he could do something in you
Yes.
as he was doing something through you. And I think the
And
mistake, I'm gonna turn it back to you in a second, and then you can tell us more about the feathers because I love the feathers.
mhm.
That a lot of times we think God is doing one thing
Mm.
and he's really doing multiple things. God
Yes.
is calling you to out of this absolute terror. I'm going to say something I've never said.
Mm,
I asked you to co-write Becoming a Vessel God Can Use with me.
mm,
I asked you to be my co-author because you are actually the one who came up with that construct. And I
mm.
said, why don't we do it together? And you were like, no.
It's not my time. Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
You just were not ready to come out into the big scary world at that level.
True.
And but then God just kept pursuing you
Mm.
and saying, I've made you a messenger. I've messages. I keep trying to get you to do this
Yes.
thing. But
Yes.
I didn't know. And so finally, I think God's timing is amazing. By the way, we're talking to Lynn Reinstrom, my hero, my role model of 40 years, my
Woohoo.
first
40.
pastor's wife. It's crazy. How is that even possible? But she's written a brand new book called Sacred Refuge, Finding Unexpected Shelter in Your Crisis. And in a couple of minutes, we're going to share about how you can get a copy and also enter to win a prize. Do you want
Yes.
to talk about that now, or do you want to pick up on what I just said and then maybe
Yeah,
we'll talk about
I
that?
do. I've also thought about what happened at Blue Ridge. I call it the Blue Ridge deliverance. That's what Donna and I call it because it was a spiritual deliverance. Uh, and this is the pastor's wife, Christian leader speaking here, right? So I needed deliverance from self idolatry. And as I think about how significant a problem that was in my life, how embedded it was in my personality and my all the stuff, it took a literal move of God to remove it. It was holy surgery to remove something just as dangerous, maybe more so than cancer, to my soul, to my spirit, to my health. And honestly, it was an important season in my spiritual development of becoming a vessel God could use, right? It was a cleansing, it was a cleaning house. So there's more capacity for Him. One of the things that you've been telling me over the years and that I'm still processing and saying, Lord, do this work is get out of the way. You told me a couple of, you were like, you're in the way. Like you just knew from the spirit, and I needed to hear, you're in the way. And I think he largely got me out of the way, or he began that work. I'm sure, I got to keep decreasing that he may increase, but you know what I'm saying when that happened. So it was a vessel issue. I don't know. I don't think I would have been a safe vessel at 32 when we were talking about writing that book. I don't think I would have been. I think it would have been I don't need to go there, but I don't think it would have ended well for me in terms of health, balance, marriage, mom, being a mom. I don't think I could have handled it. Just going to
And
say it.
two things can be true at the same time, right?
Yep.
It's true that you weren't quite ready, but it's also true that the reason you weren't quite ready
Yeah.
is because of that, because your dad walked out when you were 4,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And that did some things. And I get, we want to make this relevant to the people who've been kind enough
Mm.
to join us. And I thought, I do want to hear about your feathers. And we want to talk about how they can get a copy of the book, Sacred Refuge, Finding Unexpected Shelter in Your Crisis. This beautiful book with feathers, guys.
Yes. Check out the feathers.
The
There
feathers
they
on
are.
it. So I'll let you pick which one of those you want to do. We can talk about the feathers, we could talk about the gift, but I'd like you to give maybe 3 practical
Mm.
tips for the woman who's identifying maybe with what you're saying. It's like you love God, you want to serve God, but that's kind of scary too, because when you step out, there are some things in your life,
Mhm.
whether it's emotional, whatever, there are things that are going to come out and that you're going to have to walk through and deal with, because when you say yes to God,
Mhm.
he says, great, now we got some work to
Now we're going to go to work.
oh, good.
Yeah. No, it's true. And maybe the book or the speaking ministry or the whatever it is, fill in the blank for the women who are listening right now. God will tell you what that is, or you already know what it is. Maybe that's not the thing. Maybe God's more interested in what's happening here. His greatest goal for us is not success in the world's definition. Can I hear an amen? That is not his highest goal for us. His highest goal for us is to look like Jesus. Does he use, like you're saying, these big challenges, these big stepping out of our comfort zone moments to help us look more like Jesus? You better believe it. Jesus was the most courageous person who ever lived. Can you imagine, as God, going to the cross, knowing you're going to lose your father's presence as you become the sin of humanity? I can't even get my brain around it. But he did it with tremendous courage, and he did it for love of the Father, for the joy set before him, and he did it for us. What would I say to women in that place? I would say buckle your seatbelts, but I don't mean that in a fear inducing way. I just mean know that with the call will come the most wonderful but inevitable sharpening, a time of God saying, I've made you this way. I take delight in you. I want to use you this way. But for you to be truly effective in that and for you to look more like Jesus, there's something we need to talk about. And don't be afraid of that conversation. If he broaches it in his time and way, it means he's prepared you for that conversation and for that season of having to look at the hard stuff, and get your feet under you for that conversation or for that season of dealing with sin that you either didn't know was there or you've known was there, and you can't seem to get ahead of it or around it or over it. How do you get your feet under it? Remember what Jesus has done. When he came, when he said yes to the Father, beginning of Ephesians, we read this whole idea of the Father asking the Son, will you go on this incredible rescue mission, right? When Jesus said yes, he actually, and when he came to the cross, became our sin, gave us his righteousness. And then as we have the Holy Spirit's power to say yes to that, he raises us up from the dead. We're raised with him, Ephesians 2:6. We sit with him right now in the heavenlies. When he did that for us, he actually addressed the most scary crisis that we would ever find ourselves in. And the more deeply we can get our faith roots down into that truth, the more bold and more free and more like you're saying, Donna, I don't really care what you think of me. The more, I don't really care if this totally flops or tanks. I'm doing what God told me to do. I'll do it to the best of my ability. I leave the results, and all the glory is his if it's good, right? It gives us that freedom.
I think that that's the key. I think that the reason and you talk about how we hide, whatever that looks like. Some people hide in perfection, some people hide in checking out, whatever that looks like for you. There's something that's preventing you from stepping into all that God has in mind for you.
Mm.
something that's holding you back. And it's always, and you know, I might get into, you know, me, I'm an old John the Baptist style preacher. Under, under that somewhere for all of us is some type of sin, whether
Mm.
it's the sin of fear, when God says, fear not, or the sin of worry, when God says a million times, do not worry, whether
Mm.
it's the sin of pride, because we need to be perfect, when God says, all have
Mm.
fall short of the whatever it is,
Yeah.
that thing ultimately that's holding you back,
Yeah.
it's got to go.
It's
And
time. Yep.
in my own theory, you know, is that the easiest way to get it to go is to take a step forward, because
Mhm.
once you start moving forward, you know, God's going to make some arrangements. He's like, we got a girl in motion.
Mhm.
Let's, you know, we've got a
Good.
girl who's agreed. So we're going to have to do some work. We're going to have to pay some special attention here.
Mhm.
And I really think that I've always believed that. And I will stand on that. It's in going that we grow. It's in
Mm.
going that we're
Good.
healed. It's in stepping out that everything
Mhm.
happens.
Mm. Mm.
Nothing happens. I mean, I shouldn't say nothing. That's too strong. Like, let me rephrase it. The most amazing things,
There you go.
a great adventure,
Hmm.
that only happens when you say yes.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm terrified. Yes. And in fact, I think if it doesn't involve you saying I'm absolutely terrified, yes, yeah, it's not the thing. It's the thing that you're like, ah, that's the thing
Hmm.
that that is really going to force you
Yeah.
in cooperation with God to deal with all your stuff. Yeah, because we all got stuff. Your stuff was very
Yes,
different
we
from
do.
my stuff,
Hmm.
right? But we had stuff, and we loved each other through all this stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but I think that that's when you really do. And I think that we get it backwards. We think, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit here in my house and wait
Mm.
until I get it all together. And when
Right.
I got it all together and I feel
There you
like
go.
I'm qualified and I feel
Uh-huh.
like I can really handle it and it's a good season in my life and
Mm.
nothing else is going on. You know, as soon as all these things come together, that's when I'm going to be willing to put myself out there and take a leap of faith. And I'm just telling you, um, leave that aside. Don't
Mm.
be afraid. Be bold.
Hmm.
Step out there. God's got your back, and
Hmm.
it's going to be. No, there might be some ugly moments there, but it's going to be a God adventure. It's going to be worth it. Would you agree?
I totally would. I want to add two things, if I may. I think this is for somebody listening right now. One of the things God's taught me is that the enemy is the great disqualifier. He's the accuser of the saints, and he loves to sideline God's people from their kingdom assignments, right? He does it any way he possibly can. And it's our responsibility to discern the lies and to refute them with the truth. One of his biggest lies, I call this the lie of the special case. Well, God could love everybody. He doesn't mind us believing the gospel and knowing God sent Jesus in great love to save his people. Okay. But you're different. You're a special case. How could God possibly truly love you? Do you see how he just like sidelines us? Don't let him disqualify you. Secondly, God could forgive everybody else of their sin, the blood of Jesus washing it clean. I believe it, but do I believe it for my worst stuff, the stuff I still haven't forgiven myself for, right? That those two things will sideline us quickly, and we must not let the enemy. The gospel refutes both of them. Secondly, thirdly, another point: everybody, everybody who's come from brokenness, and that would be everybody on this call, right, in one form or another. We look at either our mistakes, our sin, or the sins done against us, whatever form they may take, and there's another hiding thing. We're like, well, let's just tuck that away and pretend it never happened and it hasn't affected me, and I'm forging on with this other persona. And that's a huge mistake. We play into the enemy's hand when we do that. Why? Because God is fully aware of the old stuff. He's fully addressed the old sin, because of what Jesus has done for us. And it turns out that the very thing the enemy keeps telling you disqualifies you from ministry. Oh, you had an abortion at 15? Well, clearly, clearly God could never use anybody. That kind of thing that he would say to us, you know what I'm talking about? He says that to us, or he says, you yell at your kids every single day. How could you possibly have a ministry to moms? You know, whatever the issue is, it turns out that that place, the place of brokenness and the place like our growing edge, is exactly often where the Lord wants to use us.
I just
Why?
met a woman. I just met a woman at a conference a couple weeks ago, and she has this whole online coaching program,
Mm-hmm.
enormously successful. It's all about helping women not scream at their kids
Oh,
because
wow.
she's screaming at her kids
Wow.
and came up with some strategies. So she has this whole online movement, just like you're talking about. And literally, the
I just
whole thing
literally
is
pulled that
let's
out of the
stop
air.
yelling at our kids. It's so true. It's like whatever
Wow.
you've been through, if you'll
Yeah.
give it to him, he'll do something with it. I
It's
know
our rocket fuel for the ministry he wants to give us.
well, because but if people are suddenly like, whoa, maybe this is more relevant than I thought. I talked about the event I did on Saturday, and maybe we can talk about your work with Samaritan's Purse. I think that'd be good. But I talked about working with ISIS refugees, and some of them showed up in full chador, and I'm sure they're sitting there thinking, what does this American woman know? My opening sentence was, I married Iranian.
Whoa. Okay. Mic drop.
Yeah, so
Huh.
yeah, it's that biggest mistake
Mm,
that
yeah.
can become your source of credibility.
Yes.
Can you talk about
Well,
Samaritan's Purse while I have a cough drop?
okay, go for it. I'll just give some updates on what's going on right now with Helene and Milton, if I may. So everybody has heard about it. You've seen the newsreels, both from Florida and from Western North Carolina. The devastation's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like this, and I've been with the ministry for 11 years. People have been incredibly generous and a lot of volunteers. We're talking 24,000 volunteers have signed up over the last several weeks to serve their neighbors in Jesus' name. Volunteers to cut down trees and remove debris and pull out soggy sheetrock and just do hard work and be the hands and feet of Christ. And it's powerful. We've seen 144, I think is the last count, of people who've said, look, I don't know you, you're not my family, I don't know why you're doing this for me, but if you're talking about Jesus and you're telling me God loves me and proved it through Jesus, so I got to find out more. And that many people have said, if this is what Jesus followers are like, I got to become part of this. Isn't that neat? So we're in 7 places. We're in Perry, Florida. We're in Tampa, Florida. We're in Charlotte County, Florida, which is more central, I believe. No, that's not right. I'm not sure where Charlotte County is. And then we're in Valdosta, Georgia, and then Asheville, North Carolina, Boone, North Carolina, and Yancey and Mitchell counties. But lots and lots of amazing work going on.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And you weren't qualified for that job, but you walked in and God gave it to you anyway, right?
There you go. There's another example. I had worked for 3 years beforehand in a very intense development job, learning about fundraising, who are major donors, how do they think, what info do they need? I had that, and it was really good training. It was boot camp. But I went for a job that I was technically not qualified for because I had never worked directly with major donors. And I remember going up to Boone, North Carolina, international headquarters. I'm sitting in front of the guy who's now our VP. And he asked me point blank, not in an accusatory way. He says, I'm looking at your CV, your resume, I don't see any direct connection with donors. Have you ever done that work? Because that's what this position is. And I had to sit there and say, no, I have not. And they still hired me, which was crazy, right? Crazy. But God did it.
God qualified you.
He did. He did it.
And he's blessed your work is just tremendous. I know you've been a huge blessing to Samaritan's Purse, and they, of course, are a blessing to the world. Do we want to share about the prize package and how they get the book, Sacred Refuge? Finding Unexpected Shelter in Your Crisis by Lynn Rienstra. How can they get the book? And
Yes.
tell us about the prize.
Yes. Well, the book is available wherever books are sold. Right now, they can go to bravebeloved.com, but they can, I'd say, go to Amazon, Sacred Refuge and Lynn with an E, and it's going to pop right up. You'll find it. That's the best place to go. And if they buy it on Amazon a few weeks from now, when they finish reading it, they can actually post a review, which is super helpful to authors as well. Yeah, I hope it'll be a blessing. It has a study guide, which is another thing that some women like for their own personal study, or if they want to do it with a group. So let me show them the prize. Is that okay?
I love it. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, so this, let me see if I can get the angle right. This is a print of a watercolor that I had a gal, it's hard to see, in our church paint. And I don't know if you can read it. It's literally Psalm 91:4. He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. So I asked her to paint this, and then I've had it printed at a print shop, and it's framed and it's ready to be shipped to somebody listening to this call who gets the book, and then just post on Donna's, on the invite. Shall we say, Donna, on the invite for this?
Anywhere, just tag Donna Partow.
Okay. A picture of yourself holding the book. We're going to put your name in a bowl, literally in a drawing, and somebody's going to get this in the mail as soon as we can get it to you. And what do you think? A week?
So let's see. What's today's date? Today is
23.
Let's give them 2 weeks. For the next 2 weeks, you can be entering your get a copy, post your picture. I need to do
Love
that.
it.
Post your picture, holding up your copy of the book. And in 2 weeks, if you've got a calendar, we will reconvene and we will do a live grand prize drawing.
Woo-hoo.
One of
I
you
love
will
it.
be receiving this beautiful print. You should probably end by telling us about the feathers.
Very good, especially since there's the mama bird. Okay.
Yeah.
Scripture talks about God in a lot of different ways. He's our father. Jesus has how many names? I mean, he's got so many names. But one of the ways that scripture describes God in his sheltering, comforting, protective personality, in that part of his attributes, is that he's like a bird, a mama bird covering her babies. When it's raining, when it's storming, when the wind comes up, he's going to do whatever it takes to cover his children. And that's what I experienced during the cancer journey last year. It's what I experienced in the accident on the way home from surgery. I experienced his sheltering, covering presence. So over the last year or two, and I send you pictures every once in a while. I haven't always done it, but once in a while, I'll be out walking and there's this feather sitting right on the road in front of me, and I'll notice it. I was in Costa Rica 2 weeks ago for work, and I'm taking a tour of San Jose downtown, and I'm witnessing to this young American guy from San Francisco, and we're talking about the Lord and this and that. And I'm like, Lord, is this making any difference? Am I barking up the wrong tree here? And I look down and there's a feather, literally a white feather on the road in front of me. And God just uses it as a personal sign that he's there, he's with me, he's providing, he's protecting. I have a whole bowl of feathers that I've collected over the last year. It's incredible.
And now it's on the cover of your book. Your cover is really beautiful. I love the way they, people probably can't tell, just from, me holding it up, but there are feathers
Yes.
there, and it's absolutely beautiful. This is the woman that I just have loved and admired, if you missed it in the beginning, for 40 years. I was either 18 or 19 years old, and I'm well into my 60s now. And I met you, and the minute I met you, I'm like, this is a woman that I'm going to have in my life, and I just haven't let go. And I just am so grateful. We've been through stuff. You've been through really, really hard stuff with me, and I walk through the day of days, and I walk through this journey that you've been on too. So you dream of writing a book, and it's published by Kriegel.
Yes.
It's available wherever books are sold. It's not just on Amazon, wherever books are sold. You can go to bravebeloved.com, and that will take you, right now it takes you right to the place on Amazon, where you can get a copy of the book, Brave Beloved, because she is God's brave beloved. You can go to lynnreinstra.com, but I've known her for 40 years and I can never remember if it's I, the Dutch are stubborn and they put the E first. But Brave Beloved will take you there. And we would love for you to get a copy. Again, it's really wonderful for private devotions or for small groups. And I hope that maybe even just out of this time that we've shared here on Facebook, some people will want to do that and begin doing it in their church, their small group or whatever. If you get a copy of the book and you post your picture, on Facebook, you can tag me. You all know me, Donna Partow. If you could just tag me. And then in 2 weeks, I don't know, do you have that date 2 weeks from today? What is that?
I don't have it. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, well, see, you don't have to be organized. You don't have to be perfect. God still loves us exactly the same amount. If we know the date, if we don't know the date, his love for us is precisely the same. See, so there you go. But we'll reconvene. We'll give you 2 weeks to get the book, post your picture, and just tag Donna Partow. And I will gather up all those names, and I have a little tool. It's a little software, and I
fun.
type in everyone's name, and it spins it around. And we'll do that live, and we'll announce who won the prize. It's a custom, beautiful print of an original piece of artwork that Lynn designed because she found herself sheltered. She didn't sit here and stay. Nothing bad's ever going to happen to you. I mean, she's been through stuff, and she's seen a lot of stuff in her work with Samaritan's Purse. We didn't even go there. She's seen incredible suffering all over the world. But what God does promise, in this world we will have trouble, but what he says is that if we will allow him, that he would be so filled with joy if we would allow him to shelter us under his wings and to be protected in his love. And the biggest thing that I want to say to all of you is what God did in Lynn's life was just calling her out of hiding and trying to, like, whether that's perfectionism or not taking risks, take the risks. Take the risks. Write the book. Launch the course. Start the home Bible study.
Yes.
Witness to your neighbor.
Yes.
Reach out to someone, whatever that thing is that you're afraid to do. Now is the time to do it because God's letting them, even if the neighbor's like, you crazy, you have to get out. Even if you have a little Bible study that you decide to start in your home and one person shows up, that's amazing. That is amazing. God is going to do something in you. If you're like, I want God to really do something in my life. If you really want God to do something amazing in your life and grow you and transform you and stretch you, put yourself in a position where you've got no choice. The most powerful things that have ever happened in my life, and I'm sure Lynn would say the same, is when I put myself into a position where if God didn't show up, I was going to be in a whole heap of trouble. Right? And so I actually proactively seek that now. I like deliberately and intentionally put myself into places where if God doesn't show up, then we're gonna have a problem here. I would just think that is when life is fun. I would just encourage all of you, you don't have to spend your whole life living like that kind of crazy style, but some of you, I really feel like this is the message. Be bold. Do the thing. Do the thing that you've been wanting to do that you're afraid of, because God is going to be there. Final thoughts from you, my lovely.
Okay, I have to share this. Yes, I have a final bit of scripture. Here's my vision for the women listening to us today, for the lives that God sees you leading with great compassion and great vision. Like he already sees you 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the line. He already sees what he wants to do through you. And my vision, and it's actually kind of the arc of the book, finding your sacred refuge, living in, dwelling in sacred refuge, sharing sacred refuge. We have something incredibly valuable to share with people who don't even know who Jesus is or what he's done for them, but they're desperate to find that safe place. And Jesus is that one. This is Isaiah 32:2. Here's my vision of what I think God will do with us as women who say, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, I will do what you call me to do. Catch this. Here's the word. Each one will be like a shelter from the wind and a refuge from the storm, like streams in the desert and the shadow of a great rock in a thirsty land. And my sisters, we are in a thirsty land. We're in a season. We don't even know what's going on with this election, hurricanes coming and going, economy, will it hold? Our kids, whatever. It's crazy town. But this is the word of the Lord. And this is what I think he's putting before us. It's beautiful to me.
You're beautiful to me.
It's mutual.
Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for being an inspiration. I just wanted to share you. I'm usually pretty selfish. I want to keep you all to myself. But today I shared you.
Sweet.
And I have a feeling that a lot of women just fell in love with you. And if you want to spend more time with this beautiful woman who's been my inspiration, my hero for 40 years, there's a way that you could spend time with her every single day.
That was smooth.
I know.
Wow.
On the pages of this book, take her home and spend some time with her. And I think it'll touch your heart really, really deeply. And again, if you want to, when you get your copy, tag me, Donna Partow, and we will give away in 2 weeks. We'll have a little reunion here and
Love it.
do the wheel of names. You can see your name up there spinning around. Who wins the prize. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. Would you close this in prayer?
I'd love to.
At the top of the hour, gotta say.
Yes. Yes. Father, thank you for your faithfulness to us. I thank you for the way that you weave our lives together. I thank you for the gift of Donna and just what you have taught me about who you are through her life. I thank you for each woman on this call, each person who's listening and processing. I pray that right now, your presence would fill them with a deep sense of your love for them, your delight in them, your nearness, your desire to draw them higher up and closer in to your arms, into your throne room. Let them not hang back and be wallflowers any longer. This is their time. In light of what Jesus has done for them, they can come with boldness and confidence. They can come right now all the way into your presence in the throne room. They can receive your blessing as their father. They can hear you speak truth over them and hear you call them beautiful, beloved child. Whatever needs to be healed, we ask you to heal it, Lord. Touch it by the power of your spirit. Whatever needs to be redeemed, redeem it, oh God, as only you can. Whatever needs to be called out of darkness into your marvelous light, we ask you to do it, oh God, that trash becomes true treasure for the kingdom as it's brought into your presence, confessed, dealt with, and then transformed as only you can do it into something of great value and help to others. God, I pray right now you would ignite vision among each of these women for who you are and how you've made them, for this road that you were taking them on, this adventure they're on, because they belong to you. I pray that you will call them, as you have been calling me, out of hiding, out of playing it safe, out of being risk averse. In light of how great you are and how great your love is for us, let us be bold. Let us take chances, and let us end up being a shelter from the wind and a refuge from the storm for others. This is what we ask for, not for our own reputations or our own worldly success, but for your sake, oh God, for the growth of your kingdom, oh Lord. And we ask all this in the strong name of Jesus. Amen.
Girl, preaching. That was good. That prayer preached. Prayer preached. I love you. I love you to pieces. Love you. Thank you for joining me today. Guys, if you were in love with this woman, take her home. That's what I did. I never let her go. Love
You're
you.
funny. Bye. Thank you. Bye, all.